Okay, good afternoon everyone. Welcome in this Innovation Insight of GS1 Belgiulux. You know, we try to organize this at a regular basis just to inform our community of more than 9,000 members about the latest innovations we have inside GS1. Today it's a really particular, let's say, angle that we are using, circularity and RFID, but I would say go for it and follow us and see what we can learn you today. Before we start, we always have the competition law caution and trust caution. We will not discuss any prices, market share of products, etc. I think for the ones who know this is quite normal. For the ones who do not know this is what we try to do today. Some rules, everyone is muted, that's always the case. We'll have a Q&A at the end of the presentations. You can have questions and write them in the chat, so we will deal with the questions at the end. And everything will be recorded and the slide deck will also be available the coming days. What do we have on the agenda today, and what will you hopefully learn? A bit about GS1 and circularity. That's the first topic on the agenda. And then we go to Aucxis RFID Solutions. Who are they? A bit explanation what RFID is, and some interesting use cases linked to circularity. And then at the end we do the wrap-up and the Q&A. Who is sitting with me around this table? We have Wouter from P&G, and Wouter is also the Vice President of our board, and also, let's say, the Chair of our Innovation Committee inside GS1. In our Innovation Committee are some of the board members that have a particular focus on some innovation topics for GS1. And on the other side, we have Jason Scrivens of Aucxis, who will explain some RFID solutions. I would say, Wouter, you can have the floor.
Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. So, as circularity is still quite new in GS1, allow me a few minutes to take you through how this fits in the GS1 master plan. So, our ambition in GS1 Belgium specifically is to really protect and create value for our members along the full customer journey. That's still quite generic. Specifically, what is our role when you look at circularity, at circular economy? We want to enable the circular economy for our members based on two easy principles: trusted identifiers and trusted data. Because we all know that circular economy, we need collaboration in the industry, and in order to collaborate, you need standards. So just clicking a bit further, if you look in the ecosystem of GS1, historically is what you see on the left. Let's say there is an ecosystem between brand owners or manufacturers, retailers and the end users, call it a consumer. This is for the past 50 years, right, what GS1 was focused on. We've got to keep it like that. That's still the core of why we exist and what we do. And this is something we want to protect. We don't want to forget on that one. However, in order to drive circularity, we are aware that we need to open up our ecosystem. We were actively doing that one. That's one of the reasons why you see that the participants in this session, it's not just the retailers and brand owners. We have new players, let's say, in our ecosystem, literally to create the circular ecosystem. So for example, who is that? We have technology providers, we have sorters, recyclers, makers. In the end, literally, we're trying to close the loop, really to create value for our members so they can unlock the power of a circular supply chain. So pretty much how to do that one, right? So, and again, what is the role of GS1 in that community? Well, we need standard, identifiers, standard data exchange, etc. So let me take you 3 examples just very briefly, and later on you will see that Jason will take it as kind of an application into his presentation. The one on the left, the GTIN, is the one you all know, maybe not under that name. It's the global trade item number. Pretty much this is the barcode you see on the pack, so I think quite everybody is aware on that one. And the only thing that may change is that it gets serialized. So rather than having, let's say, one pack is one number, now every unique consumer will have a unique code. The second one you see is the GLN, so the global location number. It's like if you were to put a barcode on every location. So that's quite a new one maybe for many people. And then the third one, which is even more specifically when you talk around circularity, you see that we're going to have more reusable boxes. And in order to track these boxes, we have now the GRI, so the Global Returnable Asset Identifier. So you see with these 3 codes, you can actually do a lot of magic, and that's exactly the core of why GS1 is playing a role in circularity. So before we go look into more examples, allow me to share one, let's say, project where GS1 is actively not just involved but leading it, is the GS1 Smartbox. What is this? This is a reusable shipper to be used mainly between manufacturers and the retailers and up to the store, where we replace the single-use carton boxes that we all know by a reusable box, which is on itself circularity. So again, how does this link to GS1? First of all, GS1 has identified, the standard crate, the folding mechanism, etc. But more specifically linked to this session, there is also a tag on that box, and the tag you can read just with a normal scanner, but the RFID is allowing also to automate the reading. Again, for now, it sounds maybe a bit mysterious, but when Jason is going to talk, I think it will get more to life, and in the end of this session, you're all going to be experts on RFID, or at least first-level experts. So before I hand over to Jason, we have one little video, again, of a project where this came to life with the Visman. Suggest we have a look onto it, and then I will happily hand over to Jason. Let's see if this works. Yes.
De Vlaamse visveiling exploiteert 2 locaties in Zeebrugge en Oostende. In het kader van het project Ergonomie en Tracing and Tracking is een samenwerking opgezet met de stedelijke vismijn te Nieuwpoort, wat geleid heeft tot de oprichting van de CVBA, Vereniging Vlaamse Visveilingen. Samen vermarkten ze meer dan 17 miljoen kilogram vis op jaarbasis. In het kader van bovenvernoemd project werden 2 types kisten ontworpen, voorzien van tags. Lineaire en 2D-barcodebedrukking, die het mogelijk maken om het product en de kist te volgen van op het schip tot bij de eindafnemer. De firma Didac uit Grobbendonk heeft de kisten geproduceerd. Het betreft nestbare kisten in polyethyleen high density, food approved, voorzien van een uniek nummer te herkennen via RFID en barcodescanning.
De Vlaamse visveiling stapte in het track-and-trace project naar aanleiding van 2 redenen. Enerzijds de voedselveiligheid en traceerbaarheid en anderzijds het grote verlies van kisten dat we jaarlijks constateerden. De voedselveiligheid en traceerbaarheid werd opgelost door barcodes te steken in elke kist, zodanig dat wij na de verkoop elke koper en de inhoud van de kist konden koppelen en zo perfect kunnen traceren waar de vis naartoe gaat na de verkoop in de veiling. Ons groot verlies van kisten werd opgelost door diezelfde barcode, zodat de koper kan gekoppeld worden aan de kist en VLV op elk moment een goed beeld heeft hoe de kisten verspreid zitten in België en Europa en zo ook het verlies aan kisten sterk kunnen reduceren.
Het geheel is gebaseerd op de GS1-standaard.
De Vlaamse visveiling stond er eigenlijk op dat GS1-standaarden werden gebruikt in dit project. GS1 als internationale standaardenorganisatie is de specialist in het uniek identificeren van schepen, van laadkades, van consumentheden enzovoort. En zonder die unieke identificatie is traceerbaarheid en tracking en tracing eigenlijk niet mogelijk. En het gebruik van die RFID-chips maakt het eigenlijk mogelijk dat die kisten gevolgd kunnen worden in elke fase van de keten.
Het automatiseringsbedrijf Aucxis is leverancier van de tags. Zij hebben de juiste tagkeuze bepaald via testen in een anechoïsche kamer gekoppeld aan high-tech meetapparatuur. Verder fungeerden ze als systeemintegrator. Dit houdt in dat ze hard- en software hebben ontwikkeld die de verschillende stappen in de keten ondersteunen. De dienstverlening van zowel de Vlaamse visveiling als de stedelijke vismijn te Nieuwpoort bestaat in het aanlanden, keuren en sorteren van de aangelande vis van een 70-tal reders. De vis wordt aangevoerd in 20 of 40 kilogram kisten en wordt in ontvangst genomen via de kade of via de laaddocks. Na een ingangscontrole wordt hij automatisch gesorteerd en gestockeerd in de distributiehal. De gesorteerde aantallen worden via de webportal ter beschikking gesteld van het klantenbestand en worden in real-time verkocht via een simultane klokverkoop op de locaties Zeebrugge, Oostende en Nieuwpoort. gebruiksgegevens worden vervolgens automatisch gecommuniceerd naar de distributieafdeling. Via scanning worden deze verder afgeleverd aan de klanten. Alle transacties zijn op te volgen via softwarepakketten van de veiling. Zijnde enerzijds AFISH, voor het verwerken van alle administratieve processen, en anderzijds F-Track, voor het traceren van de viskisten en hun inhoud doorheen de keten. De laatste stap betreft het inleveren van de lege kisten door de klanten. Deze worden vervolgens gewassen en voldoen hiermee aan zeer strenge hygiënische eisen. Vervolgens worden de gewassen kisten geladen en komen opnieuw in het circuit. Enerzijds naar de aanvoerders en anderzijds naar kopers na het sorteerproces. Hiermee is de cirkel rond. De uitrol van tracing en tracking op de locaties Zeebrugge, Oostende en Nieuwpoort resulteert in een efficiëntieslag in de supply chain en garandeert de naleving van de Europese normen qua traceerbaarheid en voedselveiligheid doorheen gans de keten conform de Europese regelgeving.
Hello everyone, my name is Jason Scrivens. I'm the RFID Business Unit Manager at Aucxis RFID Solutions. First of all, thank you Jan and Walter for having us here. Today I want to share with you some insights in the technology that we provide to our customers. My main role for the last 10 years has been to educate our customers, help them. And it's really my passion to use this RFID technology to enable our customers to optimize their logistical processes. And I think it's important that this technology is based on GS1 standards, because this makes it a lot easier for us to standardize these kind of solutions at our customers. So first of all, I will give you some insights of what we are doing as a company, share a little bit how the technology works, and then at the end shares with you some use cases where we have successfully implemented this technology for our customers. So first to start, our company now is existing around 40 years. We have two main business units. One are the RFID Solutions, and the other one, where it all started, are the auction systems. You actually just saw a nice movie of one of our customers, the fish auction. And actually we are supporting these auctions, these fresh product auctions all over the world. So we have customers in the flower industry, fish, fruit and veg industries all over the world. So fish auctions from Zeebrugge to Auckland and from China to Canada. All these auctions are working on a daily basis, selling their products. Today we are working around with 50 to 60 employees supporting these customers, and half of the business is consisting of the RFID solutions. So we do turnkey projects, meaning implementing software solutions, hardware installation and integration of the turnkey solutions. The reason why we started this RFID technology is because these auctions were having quite some difficulties tracking their returnable packaging. You just saw the example of the fish auction, where they had the problem facing with the fish boxes, but actually it all started at Flora Holland. Flora Holland is the biggest flower auctions in the world. They have around 300,000 roll containers traveling all over Europe. And one of their main issues was that at the location of Aalsmeer, which is the largest covered company surface in Europe, the size of Monaco, they were traveling or searching for trolleys on a daily basis with 20 persons driving bicycles all over the site. By implementing this technology and enabling those RTIs, roll containers, with RFID technology, we were able to narrow that down to 2 persons based on the different reading points in their facilities. And this is something that we are implementing at different organizations today. First, we'll go back to the technology, what it's all about. So RFID, radio frequency identification, it's a technology that you can use to identify your products. You can, with this technology, localize them because you know where you have last read them. You can manage the data that is inside a tag, but also in the database, all the movements that you register. And based on these registrations, you can control your processes. I think this important technology, some say it's the successor of the barcode. I don't believe so. This technology will work hand in hand with RFID, with barcodes, with other active technologies. So it's just one of the multiple technologies available on the market today to identify and track your goods. To start with this technology, you need to know that there are two different sorts of RFID. First one are the passive RFID solutions, where you have from the left side you have your reader, your RFID read point. It sends radio signals to your passive RFID tag. The passive tag gets its power, and then it sends back the radio signal to the antenna, in this way identifying the passive tag that can last for a huge amount of time. Let's say for a roll container, it will survive 20 years on the roll container. This is a big difference if you look at active technology. With active technology, you have your RFID tag on the right side, which is containing a battery, and based on this battery, it will send out the radio signal to the reader, giving you the option to send the data a lot further away. Where with passive RFID, the read ranges are limited to, let's say, 10 meters. With active technology, this is more something where you can travel for 50 to 100 meters. Thanks to that battery, you could also add some sensoring. So if you want to do some temperature monitoring, humidity, this is all possible in this active technology. Of course, price-wise, a passive tags, we are talking about cents to euro, whereas with an active tag, we are starting at 10, 20 euros per tag. Today, we will mainly focus on the passive technology because this is something that we do, I believe, for our customers. Let's say 80% of the projects that we do today are based on passive technology, but we see some opportunities also in the active market. Just to go back one step, an RFID tag, I have some examples over here. Typically, you have the RFID tag, which consists of an RFID chip. You see the RFID antenna over here with the chip in the middle. This is your identifier, and the basis is the RFID inlay, which you also see on the presentation, chip in combination with the antenna. And then this RFID tag will be encapsulated, what we call, in an RFID label. So based on this label, you can stick it on your products. The label also can be printed with an RFID enabled printer, giving you still the option to identify the label based on the barcode, but also based on the RFID tag inside. So what we typically do in the applications where we use these RFID labels, we will print them, we will encode the chip during the printing process with the same information as the barcode. This gives you the advantage that you can still read the barcode on several stages in your supply chain, but at the location where you would like to scan them, for example in bulk, where you read multiple at the same time, you can use the RFID technology. This is when we are using the labels. What you saw earlier in the movie, if you're looking into a fish box, for example, a roll container, you want to have it a little bit more durable, and then these RFID tags, they will be encapsulated in what we call a ruggedized housing. It can be plastic, it can be any sort of product, depending really on the environment where you would like to use this tag, surviving the asset where you put it on. As we are talking, or we are looking into the circularity as well at Aucxis, we see some trends regarding the digital product passport. We have multiple customers who believe this technology is very interesting to apply on their products, because those products can last for a whole lifespan, and they want to be able to, at the end of the recycling process, be able to identify the product. And you can imagine that some cases I will touch on later. If you have, for example, a concrete block that is put into a building, you want to be able to identify it, but you're not able to put a sticker on. So you want to have some kind of identification in the product itself. Think about these concrete blocks, think about electronics, clothing, mattresses. There are different use cases that we have seen over the last couple of years that want to be able to identify their products, so that they have the opportunity to, at the end of the lifetime of the product, be able to identify and see when it's been constructed, what are the components inside, how to recycle it. And this is all data which is available based on the tag that can be mounted inside of the product itself. So we see several applications using this technology for this kind of identification. For us, the GS1 standards are quite important. We're now working almost 15 years in this technology. And in the beginning, we were just helping our customers using RFID technology. They came into the idea of using a numbering scheme that they believed was interesting for them. I give you an example. We have quite some rental companies who rent out audio-video equipment, furniture, you name it. They are starting small and locally, but then their company gets bigger. They want to ship those products to other rental companies, and they want to exchange data information. And both of them have invented their own scheme, and it happens at that time that the data is not really exchangeable. And so for the many, let's say, 99% of our project that we are doing, we try to advise our customers to use these GS1 encoding schemes so that it enables them in the future to exchange the data. It has quite some important advantages for enabling this data sharing, but also making it compatible with different kinds of software applications. We see today that most of the standard WMS, ERP, MES solutions, they have the opportunity to identify assets, and they most of the time also already have the support for GS1 encoding schemes, and that's really the reason why we are advising this to our customers. I will now share with you some cases, some projects that we have been working on over the last couple of years. First one was the Flemish fish auction, but actually you already saw the movie, so I won't go into detail about this use case. I think it's just important to see on the left side again that you have this RFID ruggedized tag where you still have the combination of 1D, 2D and RFID encoding, so that during the supply chain you have multiple ways of identifying those fish boxes. Next up is the use case at Royal Antwerp Football Club. It's a project we actually implemented quite recently, and I will give the word to Sven Den Boer, who will share with you some insights about this project.
Hi, my name is Sven Den Boer and I am the Corporate IT Manager of Elanco Group and Royal Antwerp Football Club. Because of some very recent changes in legislation, actually it's this summer, all event organizers in Belgium can no longer use disposable cups for serving drinks. At Royal Antwerp, we looked at those changes more as an opportunity rather than a problem, and we started thinking about how we could not only comply to the new laws, but also improve the fan experience. After some internal brainstorming, we knew that what the puzzle should look like, and we only had to bring together the pieces of the puzzle, which actually meant that we had to find the partners that were able to think out of the box and believed in the concept that we had designed. And we found those partnerships in the parties Aucxis, which is overseeing all of the RFID related matters, the Stech, who's the cup manufacturer, and Wies Event, who is the point of sale solution provider. And actually this is what the magic is all about. It's the cup which is currently being used. Everything is based on RFID technology, which is why in the bottom of the cup there is an RFID tag which is melted in. So allow me to briefly explain how exactly the system works. A fan comes to a bar and orders beers and beverages. The beers and beverages or the drinks are then registered on the point of sale device and a payment transaction is initiated. The fan pays for the drinks and a €1 deposit for the cup. And upon successful payment of the cups are then, with the drinks, put on an RFID antenna, which then allows us to link the cup to the bank card of the fan. At a later stage, when the fan has finished his drinks, he shoves back in a stack all of the cups into what we call smart tubes. And those smart tubes have again an antenna, an RFID antenna incorporated. And those tubes can register all of the cups passing by. The smart tube system then instructs the point of sale system to do the refund of the deposit on the bank account of the fan. So why exactly did we decide in favor of RFID technology? First of all, you have to understand that the time frame or the time slots that we have in which we are serving as much drinks as possible is very limited. People arrive at the venue roughly about 30 minutes before the start of the game, and there is a 15-minute halftime break. Again, during those two periods, roughly 45 minutes, the idea is to sell as much as we can. So, the speed of scanning at the point of sale while putting the cups on the antenna has to be very, very quick. And at the same time, the effort for the bar staff to put the cup or to scan the cup must be as efficient as possible. That's one thing. Second thing, the return of the cups, that's usually or mostly at the end of the game, has to be as fast as possible, because the aim we had or the goal we had was to have no queuing at all when returning the cups. And by the way, we managed to be successful in that setup. Accuracy of the scanning of multiple cups was also very important, because again, people can return the cups in stacks, and those stacks are usually not, or sometimes not, empty. So sometimes there is still some beer or Coke or water in the cup. So the accuracy of the scanning must be very high. Another point for us that was very important was the traceability of the cup. Throughout the complete cycle of the cup, we want to know where it is from the moment it's being served, over transportation, and through the washing cycle. That is how the system works and why we decided for the RFID technology. The system is now operational in stand 3 of the stadium, still in proof of concept, but the intention is to have it installed by the end of January 2024 throughout the complete stadium. Thank you for watching and have a great day.
Okay, thank you, Sven, for sharing this information. So again, for us, this was a very nice project that we have just implemented, let's say, the couple last of months, and we hope to roll it out by the end, starting next year. For us, this was really a project which was the next step into the type of projects that we have been doing over the past couple of years. So we started, as I mentioned, at Flora Holland with the huge big metal roll containers, tracking them throughout the supply chain. Then we went into retail, where you have the plastic boxes and crates where they put in all their goods, like the fish, but also in the more consuming market. And this was like the next step, where you have, instead of a roll container, a plastic box, you have the small plastic cup that we are now able to trace and track during the supply chain of the usage of this cup. And for us, actually, this RFID technology, we are doing these implementations in so many different industries. One day we will be tagging a diamond, and the next day we are putting an RFID tag on a tram. So it can be really very flexible in the kind of use cases that we are implementing today. So some more use cases which are important, and also on the level of circularity and digital product passport. This is one we've implemented last year in the Netherlands, where we have implemented RFID technology in these concrete blocks. These are the blocks that are now put on the afsluitdijk in the Netherlands to protect them against the flooding, very actual today. We have implemented this technology in each concrete block from production on. So at the moment of the production, these concrete blocks are produced in a big mold. The concrete is poured inside of that mold, which I think one block is like 5 tons. And what was important for them is to know the composition of the concrete which was poured into this block. So there are multiple components going inside of this block. And what they wanted to know is where every and each individual block was produced, at what time, at what location, with which components. And the moment that they are transporting them after production, they each get their unique identification number based on an RFID tag in combination with a barcode. And every moment that the concrete blocks are moved with these overhead cranes, like you see on the picture on the left, we make an identification and we combine it with a sub-meter accurate GPS coordinate. So every moment that a block is being moved, we localize the block at that time. So today we have the full visualization of the afsluitdijk, and we know exactly where every concrete block is put on. This gives us the possibility to, let's say, in 5 years' time, we see some problems occurring with some specific of concrete blocks that we see over there. We have the option to look into the data and see which blocks are coming from the same production batch, giving us a traceability to solve this issue if it would arise. And on the other hand, making it possible to also, in this case, recycle them after 25 years. They have around 75,000 of these blocks, so it's quite a big project. Another project we've implemented 2 years ago was at the Veiling Hoogstraten. It's the auction where they sell, let's say, mainly strawberries. They're very famous for this in Belgium. And one of their key requirements was that they wanted to have the opportunity to share with the consumer the information of the producer who has produced and grown those strawberries. So the way that we do this is by enabling every individual strawberry box with a QR code. So if you see the right picture on the lower side, you see a QR code, and this is really a unique code that you can scan with your smartphone, and that redirects you to the website of that specific producer. The way we enabled this was by adding an RFID tag on every pallet that contains all these different individual boxes. So by linking those QR codes to the RFID tag on the pallet and reading the pallet during the loading to the producer, we were able to track the individual small carton tray to the larger tray and then to the pallet, and in that way transferring the data to the producer. So from the moment that now a consumer scans the QR code, he gets all the information of the producer, giving them full traceability. A more industrial application is at Bekina Boots. They are producers of rubber boots. And we've enabled them with RFID technology that is actually put inside of the booth. The reason for this was that they wanted to track and trace and to make sure that, for example, in one box they have the same size and a left and a right, because there is nothing so annoying than having two left boots, of course. And so at combining this and then scanning them with RFID, they don't need to open the box, checking the boot again. They can just do it completely wirelessly. That's on the side of production, and then at the location of shipping, they can read out the full pallet and making sure that everything which is shipped to the customer is correct. In the future, they want to also use this individual tag to use them at certain producer sites to enable hygiene monitoring and these sorts of things. Another application is at Polisto, where they produce composite curbs that they are used in food producing companies, and these are specific blocks that needs to be able to scan them, also on the level of circularity, being able to reuse them in a number of years. Also here it's quite challenging to stick a barcode on the outside because they are really used in very rough environments. So there they opted to put a tag inside. So at the moment of production, they put the tag inside of this block or this curb, and then they are able to read them out with a handheld device or with a fixed reading device on several stages in their production. Last use case is at Skylux. Here we use a kind of different RFID technology. Here we use NFC, near field communication. The reason why we are using, in this case, near field communication and not UHF, Gen 2 technology, is because this use case is mainly focused on consumer engagement. Here they want to be able to have the consumer with his smartphone be able to scan in this case, the product, the window, the roof window. They want to be able to scan it with their smartphone. Again here, similar use case as you saw at the strawberries. Instead of having a QR code, we have the NFC tag. So from the moment that the consumer scans it, he will be redirected to a unique URL, giving them all sorts of information about the product itself, like manuals, how to install it, or more product info. In the future, they can also use it for warranty issues and all sorts of flexible solutions. Sorry. A bit too fast. Okay, my last slide, some market trends that we see today. So we've been doing this technology for quite some years, and I think the technology is quite stable. I missed to mention that the standards that were founded, let's say, in 2004 by GS1, they are still active today. So what we have seen is that the improved hardware gives the opportunity to have longer read ranges, to have more data, but at the end, the core technology, which we started doing 15 years ago, is still the same on a kind of way for the communication protocol. So the big difference here that we've seen over the last years is that tags get smaller and the read range gets larger, and this enables new opportunities like the project you saw with the cups for Antwerp. And these are all kinds of applications that you wouldn't see, let's say, 5 years ago. So based on this new improved hardware on tag side and on reader side, you have new projects opening up. What we also see are hybrid solutions. So you saw the combination of barcodes and RFID, interchangeable. This is something that we are now also seeing, as I started in the beginning, with the active technology. So one of those standards which is now also been implemented is the Bluetooth Low Energy standard. It's a variant of the Bluetooth, but based on very low power consumption. Consumer typically knows this by the Apple AirTag, which uses this same technology. And this is a technology that we also now see more and more in logistics and industries, where roll containers or goods are being tagged by these active tags, giving the opportunity to also read them out, for example, with a smartphone, giving you a transparency in the supply chain based on typically already devices available, for example, at the truck driver, at the worker on a production site, at a yard or a construction site. So different locations where you already have these smartphone devices being able to read out these Bluetooth beacons. The growing markets today for RFID passive technology is mainly the fashion retail. If you go into the Zara's, the GBC's, the H&M's, you will see that all of those goods are tagged by RFID. One big implementer is Decathlon, for example. Also there they are using RFID and this technology. So you see this really growing and growing every year. So most of those fashion retailers are really already implementing it, or at least thinking about implementing this in the coming years. And also on an AI and machine learning level, we see new opportunities and getting more and more correct data during the readings. And this is something that we are really actively working on to make these RFID gates and reading devices smarter, enabling other opportunities. This is my last slide. Thank you for participating, and if there are some questions, we will touch on them later.
Thank you, Jason. So to wrap up, the statement is, I think, quite clear, and the statement also we discussed in our board and in the GS1 community. You will have no circular economy without good identifiers and good data. And the identifiers, of course, needed in the circular economy, they need to be open, unique, and interoperable. There's a whole discussion going on those identifiers, whether they need to be verified and authenticated. This is something which is in the pipeline in the GS1 community for sure. We see also an increased interest in the global location number, which is identifying locations from governments, but also from companies, and especially in the fresh upstream, where there are more needs than ever, sometimes due to legislation, sometimes due to business needs, to track and trace from farm to fork. The data that we see linked to these identifiers that can be more and more going to the whole life cycle. And more what we see also, and that is of course not new, is that we need harmonized data sets to make sure that the data linked to those identifiers can be interoperable, can be exchanged by independent from the way they are exchanged. I don't need to repeat that that data need to be of very good quality. We also see some new ways to exchange the data. Everyone knows the GGSN network inside the GS1 community or outside the GS1 community. What is more and more new is that we sometimes are going to be obliged to also to link to those identifiers and to link to the data events that happen in the value chain, and those events needs to be linked to the identifiers to make effectively also tracking and tracing possible. And for this we also have standards. Perhaps we can do that in the next InnoSites. It's a very difficult topic. It is called the APCIS standards, where there are specific standards for exchanging events in the value chain. So that was more or less it. I think we are now open for some questions and some that we probably are going to see on the screen. So the first question we see: how do you see the future evolving for RFID concepts like this? Do you see a future for a pooling system? I would say I go that for Jason.
Okay, thank you. Yes, certainly. So as I mentioned before, the area we were coming from are the auctions, and actually what we see now with the cups is certainly a possibility to create kind of a pooling system. What you see, you mentioned the carton boxes. Today everything is more evolving into durable and circular economy. This is something that we already do for the plastic crates at, for example, Europool systems. So they have a European pool where people can use those crates, and they are used for multiple times throughout the supply chain. So I believe really this is an opportunity, and the more people will start using these returnable assets, the more they will be able to start setting up this pooling system. And the way to get to this pooling you need an identifier. And if you don't standardize this, then you will end up and you will get blocked. So it's very important to use standards to set up and have the future in the pool. Yes.
Okay.
Let's take the next one. So let me ask the next one, and then I'm looking for a volunteer. So are the RFID tags itself reusable, recyclable after the end of life of the product? So indeed, maybe that's a very interesting question to really close it up, Jason.
Yeah, so this is, for example, one of the main topics that have been discussed during the press release last week as well. So for example, in the case of the cup project, the Ster who's producing these cups, they are now looking into the ways of recycling the cups, not downcycling, but really recycling and remaking new cups out of, let's say, broken cups. And the way to recycle them is without, of course, the RFID. So they will be able to remove the RFID during the recycling process, taking it out and then recycling the raw materials to create new ones. So I don't really believe that the RFIDs themselves will be reused, because depending on the kind of products, of course, but typical applications, they might be like 10 years or more. Where will technology be in 10 years? So I'm not sure if technology that's been implemented today is still recyclable in 10 years, but the product itself will be, yeah.
All right, so then maybe another question. So do you see any specific obstacles for RFID solutions for the moment? So you see there's a lot of use cases. Any specific things you see, anything that our members need to be aware of when they think about it?
Yeah. It's like RFID is still not a plug-and-play technology. It's still quite, let's say, complex is maybe not the right word, but there are quite some things to think about. We are working with radio waves, and radio waves typically have some impact on liquids and metals. Liquids absorb energy, metals shield radio waves. So every use case needs to be looked at into detail. I think if you had this seminar, let's say 20 years ago, and we were talking about barcodes, there were the same obstacles, that there might be different standards. How do you really get those the stripes read? But RFID is really a technology that you need to test in practice, and many of our customers, before implementing this technology, we start off by doing a proof of concept. We really go on site, test low level, some specific use cases, and then build up from there. Yeah.
Excellent. The next one maybe is for you, Jan. So if you look at the GS1 Smart Box, I mentioned it in the beginning already, so can you indicate a bit, this is also having a passive RFID tag, do you know that one?
Yes, for sure. But for sure it has a passive RFID tag inside next to the barcode, because those, let's say, those smart boxes, Wouter, they go into the supply chain in the DCs, and they can be scanned by the normal, let's say, barcode scanner, but they can also scan by the RFID, let's say, readers. And this is a double advantage. You use the technology you need to make sure that you have the identification of those reusable transport items.
So Jason, do I understand it correctly that if we have a pallet with smart boxes and an RFID tag, I would be able to, if I take 2 pallets, I would automatically know what is inside each box of the pallet, right? Just by, not by scanning, by just having one reader, I would have intelligence on everything. Right?
Yeah. But for example, one of the main obstacles, and as I mentioned, liquid products. So if you would fill the box, for example, with full with liquids, then it will be challenging to read a box which is on the inside. Right. Now, the way to overcome this is many of those box use cases, we apply 2 RFID labels. So over at the opposite corners, we put an RFID, meaning that if you rotate them, there will always be an RFID on the outside. So in that case, you will be able to read the full pallet stack of these boxes. But many scenarios, we have other environments where you are able to read the full pallet.
But it's good indeed, as you mentioned, first to go on site, really see what is the product in scope, and if you have like shampoo, like in our case, I could imagine it needs to be a bit more creative.
Exactly. Yeah.
Very good. And another lovely one for you, Jan. So we talk a lot that circularity is part of the GS1 master plan. You have within your staff several people kind of working on it. So how do you see it moving forward? What is the role of GS1 in your team to make more of these projects?
Well, you have seen it in our strategy. GS1 is not going to realize the circular economy. GS1 tries together with its board and its members to facilitate, to enable the circular economy. And the reason why we do those insights also together now with an RFID suppliers is just take the case of the reusable cup of Royal Antwerp Football Club. These are innovative concepts that use GS1 standard, serialized chitin inside the tag, where we can have GS1 standards used for new use cases, where no one would have expected that GS1 standards would have been used for reusable cups at the football club. So this is what we try to tell to the community about, let's open our minds, let's see how, let's say, our standards can facilitate the circular economy. We have, of course, some interesting projects that have been started, not just reusable cups, but also reusable trays. We know that there is a whole new legislation that is coming towards the industry, where other industry associations are taking care of on the content of that legislation. Once it's voted, it's up to us to help the industry in making it happen. And if you take the case of a reusable, let's say, reusable, not cup, but a reusable plate, for example, for vegetables or for fruit or for meat, whatever, if the legislation is going to push that, how do we do that? Because as reusable cups, it needs to be washed, it needs to be brought back to the retailer where you have bought it. So these are all new concepts with so many, let's say, angles and so many difficulties that we want to limit ourselves to our parts. They will need identification. They will need identification and a higher level of identification than we have today. So you will see the switch from the chitin as we have it today to the serialized chitin, because the companies need to add an additional layer to make the circular economy happen. And that is what I see our role, Wouter, to make that happen together with all the different stakeholders we have.
I think also Jason gave a nice example of the hybrid setup, right, where we combine maybe in the future the 2D barcode with the RFID, so it's not a competition, you really need a bit of everything. Okay, maybe I take the next question. So the question is, how are standards keeping up on global level? Will this information be compatible for all regions? So what you need to know in GS1 is, of course, when you use the existing standards, they are designed to be compatible across regions, definitely. Now there is also a working group globally, it's called a mission-specific working group, it's a long word, on circularity, really trying to prepare our community for the new use cases, etc. Currently we're focused really on a digital product passport, that's something Jason mentioned already, because that's a new piece of legislation that is coming up, and we're really trying to understand what is the requirement of the legislation in order then to map and match it versus the existing standards, and then where needed try to develop or evolve the standards, making sure that the GS1 standards keep up with the, let's say, the growing needs, right? Because we know what we know today, we don't know what we know tomorrow. So yes, there are global processes in order to prepare us and to make sure that even though we learn in every country, like Jan's team is learning in Belgium, there is teams learning in Germany, in China, there is a good process, a good collaboration across all the different organizations to keep working on this one. All right, let's see, I think there are a few more questions. So let me ask the question. So in a sector where sterilization is necessary, will RFID withstand the high temperatures? Not sure, Jason, if you can take this one.
Yeah, again here, like the fish boxes and the labels, for every typical use case, there are RFID tags available. So in this case of sterilizations or radiation or let's say paint shop processors where you're really working on high temperatures up to 200, even 300 degrees Celsius, there are tags that survive these processes. And again, I mentioned plastics, typical materials for higher temperatures or ceramic tags. So they are constructed in a different way, but they are able to withstand these environments. Yes, again, looking at every individual situation. Yeah.
Yeah, and as you're saying, technology is evolving so fast that I'm sure 5 years from now, if we look back to this cafe, we will say, these guys were not aware of the future. But thanks a lot, Jason. I think we reached the end of our questions, except if somebody is now dropping a last question. I think we were inspired by your showcases, Jason. Thanks a lot. I mean, it's amazing to see that the technology that exists for so long, RFID existed already, like, I don't know, tens of years ago. But now, as you're saying, as the hardware and the software is evolving, and as there is use cases are evolving, this is really like back on the radar screen, I think. I'm very happy that GS1 can play its role into it. So exciting. I hope everybody in the community, it's quite hard to see your faces today, obviously, but we hope you got inspired. We hope you learned something, right? That's also the part of this cafe. If you have any questions, I'm sure we will share in the kind of the summary, maybe early next week, kind of the contact information of Jason or of the GS1 team. Feel free to reach out to us. And if you have any questions for next Innovation Insight sessions, feel free to drop them. We can always adapt the agenda based on your need, because you remember, our objective is to protect and create value for our members. And there's a lot we know, but there is even more we don't know. So if we can help you, please reach out to us. And we're very happy to dedicate one of our next sessions to your specific topic. So having said so, I think we can close the session for today, gentlemen. Thanks a lot, Jason. Thanks a lot, Jan.
Thanks, Walter.
Thanks, Walter.
And thanks for the guys hosting us here today in the beautiful Haasrode. We look forward to the next session and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you.